Okay, geometry kids, here we go. This week's lesson is areas of circles and of regular polygons. It seems simple, but of course it can be a little bit more complicated, and you will use a lot of algebra skills this week. Circles, you know circles. Circumference of a circle is the area around. This example is green. The diameter is a line that goes through the center from side to side. And we know that pi is not just a random number. Pi is the ratio of how many diameters go around a circle, 3.14. Just over 3 of these diameters would go around this circle. And the radius is half of a diameter. In all the formulas that we have with circles, you should know what the area of a circle is. Pi r squared. Pi times the radius squared. And I told you about my dad. You know the joke. Pi r squared. Pi r round. Cornbread r squared. So remember that every time you have to do that area of a circle. But the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. And the area of their circumference is pi times the diameter. So it seems simple enough figuring those two out. But it can get a little bit more complex. So let's take a look at this one problem, one example right here. We'll ask you to find the circumference of a circle, S, in which the area is 9x squared pi. The area, but I want to find the circumference. So circumference doesn't have area in. How can I figure that out? This is what you can do. You can use both formulas. What you will do is you will use the area to find the radius. Because if you found the radius, you could find the circumference. So we plug in what we know. We know the area is 9x squared pi. So we plug that in. 9x squared times pi equals pi r squared. We want to get r. So to get r, let's take a look using our algebra skills now. We will divide both sides by pi to get rid of that. We end up with this. Now, the amateur would get stuck right here, wondering how can I get r by itself because it's squared and x is squared, what do I do? But the person who's got all those tool bags, remembers from algebra what to do, is they look carefully as they're stuck and then realize, but wait, r squared is a perfect square and 9x squared is a perfect square. And those golden rules of algebra work not only with adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, but with finding the square root. You could find the square root of both sides of an equal sign and it won't change the equation. So let's do that. The square root of 9x squared is 3x. And the square root of r squared is r. So the radius is 3x. Now that doesn't help us find the circumference, or does it? Now that we know what the radius is, now we make it the other equation, and we're going to use the value of the radius to find the circumference. So again, we write what we know. There is your formula for the circumference of a circle. Circumference is 2 times pi times the radius. Plug in what we know. Now, even though it's a kind of a long number in terms of pi, come on, man, move. There it is. 2 times pi times 3x, because the radius was 3x. We put them all together and we simplify, and we get that the circumference is 6, 3 times 2, times x pi. And that's just an example of how we can use the various formulas of circumference and area to find various values of a circle. All right. Now, when you're thinking of circles, the next slide, that's an owl. Remember I said in a weekly intro, every slideshow or every video is going to have something random for you to remember to make sure that you saw the video. But thinking, are there any circles in nature? Look at this. Whoa, that's that same circle from the last slide. Isn't that cool? It's got nothing to do with math at all. It's just a random owl. Anyway, that was your first lesson. I kept it under 5 minutes. That's part 1. Stay tuned for part 2.